Men are afraid that women will laugh at them. Women are afraid that men will kill them. And this difference reveals everything about the power dynamics between genders. This famous quote by Margaret Atwood captures the fundamental asymmetry in male-female relationships, but the implications go much deeper than most people realize. Here's what makes male fear of female mockery so telling about masculine fragility. Men's greatest fear isn't physical harm or financial ruin, it's social embarrassment by women. This reveals that male power is largely performative and depends on female validation to maintain itself. Men need women to take them seriously because their authority isn't based on competence, but on consensus. When women laugh at men, it breaks the spell of masculine authority and reveals how much of male power is just elaborate theater. This is why men react so violently to female ridicule. It threatens their entire identity structure. The asymmetry in fears shows that men hold the physical power while women hold the social power to expose male inadequacy. Understanding this dynamic helps explain why men work so hard to control female speech and why women's laughter is seen as so threatening to the social order.
Witch hunts weren't about supernatural beliefs. They were economic warfare disguised as religious purification, and women were the perfect scapegoats from male failures. Historical analysis reveals that witch trials peaked during times of economic crisis, social upheaval, and male anxiety about changing power structures. But here's what makes the scapegoating of women so strategically brilliant for maintaining male power. When societies faced problems like crop failures, plagues, or economic collapse, blaming women allowed men to avoid examining their own leadership failures while eliminating female competition for resources. Women became convenient explanations for everything wrong in society. They were causing the problems through their inherent evil nature. This pattern continues today whenever women are blamed for relationship failures, workplace conflicts, or social problems. The scapegoating mechanism allows men to maintain their self-image as competent leaders while making women responsible for cleaning up the messes created by male incompetence. What makes this particularly insidious is that women often internalize the blame, believing they really are responsible for male emotions, male violence, and male failures. The witch hunt mentality never ended. It just evolved into more subtle forms of making women responsible for everything that goes wrong, while men take credit for everything that goes right.
Male sexuality isn't about pleasure, it's about conquest, and this explains why men lose interest in women who actually want them. The psychology of male desire reveals a fundamental contradiction. Men are most attracted to women who are unavailable, resistant, or challenging to obtain. But here's what makes this pattern so destructive to genuine intimacy. Men have been conditioned to see sex as a victory rather than a connection, which means they're more invested in the chase than the catch. This conquest mentality explains why men pursue women aggressively but lose interest once they've won, why they're attracted to taken women but bored by available ones, and why they often prefer the fantasy of a woman to the reality of her. The conquest model of sexuality turns women into trophies rather than partners, reducing female humanity to a game men play with each other. What makes this particularly tragic is that men often don't realize they're sabotaging their own chances for genuine intimacy by treating love like a competition. The conquest mentality ensures that men never learn to appreciate what they have because they're always focused on what they haven't conquered yet. This pattern keeps men emotionally stunted and women constantly performing unavailability to maintain male interest.
Men don't hate female bosses because they're bad leaders. They hate them because female authority breaks their fundamental worldview about natural hierarchies. Research shows that men respond differently to criticism, direction, and feedback when it comes from women versus men, even when the content is identical. But here's what makes male resistance to female authority so psychologically revealing. Men have been raised to believe that authority flows naturally from masculinity. So when women exercise power, it feels like a violation of natural law rather than a normal workplace dynamic. This is why men will respect male bosses who are incompetent, but resist female bosses who are excellent. It's not about leadership quality, it's about gender expectations. Male resistance to female authority often manifests as questioning women's qualifications, undermining their decisions, or attributing their success to factors other than competence. What makes this particularly damaging is that men often don't recognize their bias. They genuinely believe they're responding to leadership style rather than gender. The resistance to female authority reveals that men see power as inherently masculine, which means any woman in charge is automatically seen as an anomaly that needs to be corrected rather than a leader who deserves respect.
Men hate women who make them feel vulnerable because vulnerability threatens their entire identity built on emotional invincibility. Male socialization teaches boys that feelings are weakness and that real men don't need anyone, creating adults who are terrified of emotional exposure. But here's what makes male fear of vulnerability so destructive to relationships. Men often punish women for creating the very intimacy they claim to want because closeness makes them feel exposed and powerless. This explains why men will pursue women intensely, but then become distant once emotional intimacy develops, why they share their feelings but then resent the woman for knowing their secrets, and why they often sabotage relationships right when they're getting deeper. The fear of vulnerability makes men see emotional intimacy as a threat rather than a gift, turning the women who love them into enemies who know too much. What makes this pattern particularly tragic is that men's fear of vulnerability prevents them from experiencing the very connection they're desperately seeking. They want to be known and loved, but they're terrified of being seen and judged. This creates a cycle where men push away the women who could actually heal their emotional wounds, choosing loneliness over the risk of being truly seen and potentially rejected.